All right, this is going to be a intro tutorial on how to sample with the SP-404. So this is like very beginner level. I'm just going to go over kind of the layout of the instrument and how to record a sample and how to trim the ends so that it will loop correctly. So this is the SP-404. So I've first was interested in sampling after listening to like Mad Villainy and Donuts by Jay Dilla, Person Pitch by Panda Bear, some records I really like, and those are supposedly all composed with the 303, and so this is the follow-up to that. It's pretty, once you get the hang of the layout of the instrument, it's pretty simple to just do the way that I use it normally, just cutting samples or using the effects bank. So these banks right here are different collections of pads. So each one has 12 pads. So A is like kind of the sounds that it comes with. So it's got like some basic drum sounds. But C through J are all stuff that I've sampled and recorded on here. I've got like a little John Coltrane sample and, just a bunch of random things. The Frankie Knuckles, My Girls sample. But today I'm going to show you how to sample this Red Clay by Jack Wilkins. So before getting started, I'll just play the song real quick so you can hear what we're going to be working on. And so, real quick, the signal flow here, I've got line in. This is coming from my computer, so it's stereo. And then I've got the line out is going to this Bose speaker. So this is what is outputting the sound we're listening to. And so if you don't have external source selected right here, it won't play whatever is this line in. So having this selected, now we're going to listen to Red Clay. So this song has been sampled by a Tribe Called Quest and Chance the Rapper. So this is going to be the part we'll be cutting right there. So to get started, I want to go over like what I think is one of the most important aspects of this instrument, and so it's how you set the recording threshold, and it actually lends itself really nicely to this sample that I'm going to show you because, if you have a vinyl record, which you probably should have for sampling something like this, as opposed to Spotify, you can literally rotate. You can adjust the angular position of the record such that you can get it to exactly where you want it to start. And then you can, have your sampler engage at that point. But for what we're doing here, I want to show you how to set the threshold. And so if you just press record right here, this is how you record a sample. And so the ones, when you press record, the ones that are flashing are the available tracks. So that means that something is already recorded on all of these. And so this selects this track. And so if you press record, it's going to start recording. It's not going to wait for the song to start, for instance. So it shows you now that it's recording. And so, we're now recording this. So just to show you what that did, it recorded nothing, which is not what we want at the start, and then the song. So that's why using this thresholding feature is really nice. And so to be clear, if you wanted to, you could just, synchronize pressing this and start your song, like synchronize pressing these two together. That's one way to do it, certainly. But what I'm going to show you is like the automatic thresholding capability of the sampler. So if you hold cancel and press record, you'll see this light comes on and we now are at 0 on here. And so this dial right here is controlling what the threshold level is. So if it's at 0, that's no threshold. It will automatically start with no engagement. So if you move this up to 1, that means it's going to require on its scale from 0 to 1, it's going to have to surpass this to start the recording. So if you play your track again, you see now this light is on, so that means that threshold is surpassed. So what you can do is, if depending on what you want to do, you can dial it in to where, if for instance, things like a kick or a snare are usually like punchier than the rest of the track, and so usually you can dial the threshold in to where like a kick or snare that you want to be the start of the sample will actually engage the start. And so this is a convenient thing because then you don't have to worry about adjusting the start and end points as much, because it's going to be naturally where you wanted it to go. So we'll set it on 5. And so now you press record again. So now when you engage the track you want to record, so let's delete what we had here. It will, instead of saying record right here, it'll say ready. So that means that the track is armed and it's ready to go. So now we'll go back and play the track. And so that kick is what engaged the recording. So now we've captured the sample. And so when the default setting when you have a new sample is for the gate to be engaged. And what that means is that only when you're pressing the pad is that you're going to play. Like, so when you release it, it stops. Which is when you're wanting to find the ends of the sample, that's kind of an inconvenient mode. So you can just disengage gate so that it will just continuously loop. And so you can obviously change this to not loop if you don't want, but we do. And so we want to find the end point. So you hear that like it hit twice. So what we want to do, that starts right where we wanted it to because we set the threshold correctly. So it's going to start with that symbol, and what we'll just have to move the end back. And so this the threshold is a very important feature, but what you do to fine tune the sample is using this start end level. And so once you engage this, the right dial is going to control the level, so it goes up to 127, and so that's the volume of the sample. So you can, if you have something that's too loud, you can lower its volume with this, but we're going to leave it at max value. And so these two dials control the start and end level of the track. And so if you look at this little simple diagram I've made, this is just to show you what these dials, how they work. So if you set them both to 0, that means that they are aligned with the very beginning and end of your sample, like exactly how you recorded it. And so if you turn the start counterclockwise, it still stays at 0 because you're turning this and it's moving the start head out here to where there is nothing. So there's nothing over here to engage. And so when you move it clockwise, it's going to start moving the start head into the sample. So if we hadn't been able to use that threshold and get the exact point we wanted, we may have to move the start in a little bit. And similarly, you can think of the end this way, where if you turn it clockwise, there's nothing over here, so the signal is 0. And then if you turn it counterclockwise, it's actually now moving into the sample. And so again, our start is where we wanted it, so we don't have to adjust this one. We can just leave it where it is and move the end over. And so now we'll just listen to it a couple times, dial in the end, and then get it to where it will loop naturally. So I've moved it to 12, and we'll just see if that seems like it's too far or not far enough. So that's really, really close. I'm going to move it just a tad bit further. So that's about, to my ear, that's pretty good. So we'll hit, after you've trimmed it with this, you can hit delete. And then when you hit mark, this TRC is for truncate. And so hit delete again, and then it truncates the sample. So now these start and end levels have now been moved to where I just set them, and it cut the rest out. So it's permanently has deleted that edge of the sample that I just cut out. So now we've got this sample. So now you can, apply effects. The vinyl, there's a lot of stuff you can do once you have it, but that just kind of shows you using the threshold to set the level so that you can easily adjust the start. And so we didn't have to do anything to control the start point. We just had to dial the end back a little bit. And if you need to, you can iterate multiple times. So like these start and end levels, they go to 30. So minus 30. And so similarly, 30 for the start. And so those units are based on the length of the sample. So those 30 subdivisions could be large or small based on how long the sample is. And so if you had a kind of a course starting, you may have to move this all the way up to 30 and truncate it and then do this again. So you may have to iterate on this to do it, to get it exactly right. But that's kind of, it helps to just, practice. And it's always good, I think, to, if you're trying to get something and you just try it over and over again and you can't get it, just try to sample a different thing. move to a different sample, and if you get some success with different things, then come back to it, and maybe you'll have a little bit better skill at setting that start and end positions.